Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Is everyone is here? Awesome. We are here today to talk about your benefits package and if it's future proof. I'm very excited about this topic, but first, we will give folks just a few minutes to join the session. And while we wait, my moderator for today, Melissa, she has a special icebreaker for my speakers. So, Melissa, you can take it from here for the icebreaker.
Perfect. Thank you, Eduardo. Okay, folks, I wore blue in honor of Blueboard today because we're sponsored by Blueboard. Very excited to be here. We've got a great crew. But first, before we start our vibe check, I thought maybe we could do a little vibing together. A bit of a get to know you question here that I think will kind of give us a window into a little bit of like who you are, what you like, all that great stuff. So, deep question. If you were to sing karaoke, what would be your go-to song?
Oh, that's a good question.
Don't all jump in at once.
Go first because I have a very solid go-to answer for this. It is always Summer Nights from Greece, because it requires everyone to join in. And I kind of sound like Scuttle from The Little Mermaid when I sing. And so it's very important that I get background singers so they can kind of drown me out. But also, my father loved Olivia Newton-John. So I've seen that movie about 8 million times and know every word by heart.
That's a fantastic answer, and I love the strategy. All right, who's next? Shweta.
All right. I always love California Love, but lately it's been Let It Go because of my daughter and I. We just love singing Let It Go for everything.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, Summer Nights, Let It Go. I feel like this is all kind of nature related here. Tim, let's go to you.
Karaoke is not something I am very strong at, given my Buffalo accent. It is not very conducive to singing. But if I had to do one, I have two little boys, 8 years old and 6 years old, and there's a song people with kids may know it called the Duck Song. It's about a duck that's being a jerk and keeps asking for grapes at a lemonade stand, and it's just like a very funny, clever song.
That's fantastic. Everybody should Google that. It is so good.
What about you, Melissa? What's your go-to song?
Well, I really like Eye of the Tiger. I don't know if it's a strong karaoke song, but when I hear it, I don't know, it just gets me in the zone.
That's good. Well, I don't have an answer because I absolutely do not go to karaoke. It's the worst thing, the worst for me. But let me see. I would sing what is that Whitney Houston song? Yeah, definitely. I would do a Whitney Houston song just because I can sing and everyone will laugh and everyone will leave the karaoke. But that was an awesome icebreaker. Thank you very much, Melissa. My name is Eduardo. I am the host for this session, and I am a community events manager at Modern Sales Pros. And for those of you not familiar with Modern Sales Pros, we are the world's largest and highest quality community for those in sales management, sales leadership, sales and revenue operations, and sales enablement, aka our Modern Sales Pros. And our mission is to create an environment for our members to answer questions they would struggle to solve on their own and help them see around corners they might not know about. And we do that through live sessions like this one you're about to experience. We have a robust online forum, and we also have our quarterly summits. And we are starting to get back to in-person events, which is very, very exciting. So if you're not already part of MSP, you will be invited to join after this event. And as I mentioned, we always have like the quarterly summits, and we just launched Revax Fest. This is the event of the year. So if you like this content, and I'm sure you will love our 3-day Revenue Excellence Summit happening in October 11th through the 13th. We pulled together 24 events of amazing content and speakers. You can hear from the CEO of Zoom Info, Gensai, Cowboy Ventures, and Winning by Design, as well as leaders at Lattice, Pendo, Outreach, Atrium, and Blueboard. So I'm gonna drop a link in the chat for you to sign in for the this amazing event right now. Let me put it there. You have the link, you can sign up for this summit. But that's enough about MSP. I want to hear from our sponsors, and I have a poll before we start hearing from the sponsors. What topics are you most excited about learning today? I just opened the poll, and now I want to hear from Britt, the amazing work they're doing at Blueboard. Hey, Britt.
Hello, everyone. Here at Blueboard, we are an experiential rewards platform. And what that means is instead of giving your employees something like a gift card or a trophy for a job well done, you would actually give them a meaningful experience, time back for themselves or with their loved ones. And an experience could be taking your children to the amusement park for the weekend, or golf lessons for yourself to perfect that game, or taking your 3 best friends to Europe like I'm going to do next week. So we are here to create those meaningful moments for your company at scale, and create something that's more meaningful for your culture overall.
That's awesome. That sounds really good. Blueboard does amazing stuff. And it's great to have you as an sponsor. Thank you very much. I am excited to dive in and learn everything about benefits packages, but I have some housekeeping notes. First, this event is being recorded. You will be able to access this recording and the key takeaways on the previous events page of the MSP website. And second, if you have a question for our panelists, and I was talking with them backstage, they said they love questions. So let's make them a little bit happier today. It was a long week. It's still just Thursday, but let's make them happy and send them a lot of questions in the using the Q&A function, and we'll be sure to get to them during the event. And now let's introduce our amazing panelists. You already heard from some of them, but Melissa will be our moderator. So I'll pass it to you, Melissa, to introduce yourself and the panelists, and I'll be back at the end for some more information about MSP and our sponsor. Melissa, you can take it from here.
Perfect. Thank you, Eduardo. All right, so I'll kick us off. I'm Melissa Stewart. I'm a change management consultant with Mariner Innovations. I love all things change, which is contrary to what a lot of people would say. So I'll pass it over to Tim. Let's hear from you.
Hi, everybody. My name's Tim Mann. I'm the Director of Sales here at Blueboard. Started as an enterprise rep here a few years back, and now in a leadership role.
Excellent. Now we've got Shweta.
Hi, everyone. Happy Thursday. I am Shweta Kohli and Director of Sales and Enablement at Opentrons Labs. Company's based out of New York. I am in California, and really exciting times. Hope everybody's enjoying the end of summer, and lots of you probably have your kids back to school. So yay. I'll pass it to Britt.
Hi, everyone. I'm Britt Bartolini. I'm a senior enterprise account executive here at Blueboard. I was employee 16 5 years ago, and we have grown significantly since then. So it's very exciting to be here today and to sit with my fellow colleagues and others in this area to talk about this topic.
Excellent. Okay, shall we dive right in and do our vibe check? I feel like we're all vibing. We can kick this off. All right. So let's get to our topic at hand. We've got a great group to chat about these topics today. I think we'll learn a lot. So when we think about our benefits package, I mean, gone are the days of ping pong tables and snacks as benefits, or less so. We can see that things are changing, and our team members are shifting their focus, and they're searching out benefits packages that lean more toward self-improvement, balance, and innovation, just to name a few. I'm sure there's lots more factors. But why don't we dig in a little bit deeper together and learn more about how our benefits package can become our secret weapon when we're trying to attract and retain talent. First off, we're going to chat about compensation plans. When we say designing meaningful compensation plans that attract diverse talent, what does that mean? What is a meaningful compensation plan? And how do we really know what matters to our team members? Okay, that's a big question. I'm going to pass that one over to Shweta.
Sure. Yes, it is definitely a very big question, very deep question, because we have people from all walks of life, not just ethnicity wise, but also people's experiences, right? And they've had some different companies with different compensation that was like, great, but they're missing. So every company that I've been part of and my experiences, I think there was always one thing that kept coming up again is, what are we doing for learning and development? A lot of compensation, is like base salary and, variable commissions. But is a company invested in your future also? So yes, we might have an enablement team in place, but are we also investing in our employees to say, hey, if you want to take certain courses outside to not only up your skill in your current role, but other roles that you might be interested in, here's an X amount of, money put aside for you to use it throughout the year for taking online courses, for, really upping your skill. So thankfully, a few of my companies that had put that in place that are really good. But then there was all these caveats in place that said you can only use it for certain companies and certain courses. So it was great that we had it to begin with, but it was not flexible. So coming into my current role, one of the things that I've really made it good for my incoming sales reps is like, hey, I want you to really get good at negotiation or selling or even, objection handling. Here are some courses you can take internally plus externally. So those, really gets them motivated to say, hey, I want to learn other things that are happening in the industry, and really tying that back to the compensation. And a great selling point for a hiring manager when we're hiring folks and, looking at a talent pool.
I think that is a fantastic point. And selfishly, from a change perspective, when you think about the world today and how much change has happened outside of work in the past few years, I can almost see people craving that stability and wanting to see themselves down the road in the future. How am I being supported in my growth at a company? So I love that response, Shweta. Okay, I'm going to pass this back over to Britt. Let's hear from Britt.
Yeah, just to kind of play off what Shweta just said, I do think it is important to, of course, align my goals, right? If I'm an independent contributor, I want to know where I can be successful, how do we define success, and what is my compensation for that? But I think the next layer that comes into play here as a leader is, to your point, how am I going to grow? If I grow successfully, if I exceed your expectations, what does that look like for me? And what if I don't want to be in a leadership role? My goal for 5 years has been, I do not want to be in a leadership role. I want to be the best independent contributor you've ever met. And so what does my growth actually look like, right? What is my learning and development like? And so when we talk to leaders in sales and HR, oftentimes it's, why did you stay for 5 or 10 years? I can guarantee in 5 years, I've never had anyone say, because I have a great comp plan. No, right? They're talking to, their colleagues. They have personal connections, which are harder to develop these days now that we're all remote. They are worried about their personal growth and contribution to my personal life. Do you give me the opportunity to recharge? 2 days ago, I let Tim know, I'm having a really stressful day. Is it okay if I leave at 4:30 for yoga? Like, having that open communication. Now he knows it matters to me to take time for myself when I'm overworked and step away, because your computer's always there, and then come back. So I think the conversation needs to open up more to, what is a total benefits package? That is my compensation. What happens if I go above and beyond? And what's my growth pattern here?
Fantastic. So I feel like it's kind of got a few different tentacles out there now, and it's just kind of diversifying. I love that. Okay, well, Tim, it sounds like you're a great leader. We've got a question here actually about recharge days that came in through the chat. So are you finding that recharge days seem to be becoming more popular?
I'm trying to think through that, if it's becoming more popular. I wonder if maybe it's just like people feeling more confident and being open about that, right? Like, to Britt's point, we were trying to get on a call actually to talk about comp plans and some changes. And she was like, actually, like, I really need to go to yoga right now. That's super important to me. But I'd rather do that later. Cool. Like, what I don't need to do is overburden people with more things. If they know and they feel confident in that ability to step away when they need to take that time, as long as they're getting the job done, especially in a remote world, it's just super important that we allow that space for people to be open about it. And I think now there's more space, hopefully, for people to be more open about it. You know, I can speak for Blueboard and how we are internally about it, but hopefully across other teams that's starting to shine through more as well.
Yeah, great. I like that. I know at our company at Mariner, we've implemented Mariner My Days. So if we ever need to take some time, we've got a set amount of days in the year where we can do that. It's a nice benefit that you don't see everywhere. So I like that, creating that space for things that are outside of, normal PTO.
I want to add on that really quick, because naturally I went to erase that message at first at 4:30. I was like, he's calling for a meeting at 5. Like, do I tell my boss no? But if you're truly embodying the extras that you're selling to an employee, right? If you're truly saying, no, we want you to grow, we want you to take time for yourself, then you have to live it, right? And that's how you reinforce culture. And so I debated erasing it, and then I was like, no, if this is what we're saying our values are and where we're giving this time off, then I need to embrace that and see what the leadership response would be like. And of course he was open to it. So I think that's important too, is make sure you're living what you said you would allow them to do.
Yes, definitely. I mean, we have to live and breathe it if that's what we're saying we're doing, right? Okay. So fantastic discussion, folks. We're going to move on to our next topic, which is dynamic career path. So we've chatted about this a little bit, but let's dig in a little bit further. So dynamic career paths with numerous ways to get the job done. When I read that, I'm reading between the lines a bit, and I'm seeing a desire to not only grow with the company, but also flexibility, the space for creativity, and to actually own your career path. What are your thoughts on what this could look like? This time, let's start with Tim.
Yeah, so it's actually super interesting to be on this conversation with Britt today here as well, because Britt and I were enterprise reps together and worked very closely together to push each other to grow, to listen to each other's gong calls, to give each other feedback. And we were always like neck and neck. We were always battling who was going to be the top quarter after quarter, but always encouraging each other and helping each other and trying to make sure each other got there. And we're different in our sales approach. We're very different personality-wise in a lot of different ways. So we were working so closely together, but at the same time, so different, but the same, similar, if not the same results quarter after quarter, because we were both able to kind of take ownership over that role. And I had a path that I was going down that I knew that I wanted. I knew where I wanted to go. And even as we were both enterprise reps, I was like, nah, Britt, that should be you. And I kept trying to push Britt in that direction. Like, no, you should go there. And she's like, no, I'm good. Like, absolutely, like, not where I want to be. So here are two enterprise reps working together, hustling, like doing really well together, pushing each other, but also going down the same road, but also going down different paths at the same time to get the job done, but also where we're both trying to go professionally. And I think in any organization, it's not a clear path. Not everybody wants to be in management. Not everybody wants to stay a quota carrying rep forever. They may want to go over to enablement or ops or marketing. They may go wherever they want to go, but it's just like, you really need to be in tune with your people and understand what those goals are, what's important to them, and allow them space to own it. Because if they don't feel any real ownership over their path and it's just a path you're pushing them down, you're never going to get there.
Yeah. Where's the motivation, right? If you're pushing it on them, are they motivated to do what you're telling them to do? Right? That's a really good point. And I love the point that you make about the two of you in similar roles on different paths, because leadership can be leading a team, but it can also be spreading your positive impact and capability across individual contributors, right? So love this. Okay, Shveta, how can we do this? How can we give people the space and flexibility to own these career paths? What does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. And, this, I would say, kind of happened to me where I only wanted to be an individual contributor for the longest time. And a former manager was like, but you're so good with, talking to people and explaining to your peers and say, try this path. And I was like, yeah, they're like, you embody leadership. And I was like, yes, thank you, but I don't want to do leadership. And funny enough, I ended up with a leadership role because it was supposed to be temporary. Somebody's going on maternity. Just take it. You'll still be able to close your deals. And soon enough, that became a permanent role. And I actually enjoyed it without realizing that I actually loved it. But because that opportunity, was thrown at me without any training and say, go in the shark's mouth and kind of learn how to do this. And I really now today, 15 years later, I try to do the same thing with my sellers. So I'm in this department where I have SDRs, inside sales, and enablement. So, of course, the SDRs all want to go into an inside sales role or even marketing. So I hone into their skills and I say, do you know this is really good? Why don't you, in our next sales training or marketing training, present doing XYZ like you're already in a role that you want to go into? And then while they're doing that, I will come back and give them feedback. I was like, did you notice what you did? You did such a great job at what you really wanted to do, but you also talked about XYZ. So now you are not just open to say inside sales, but I can see you in marketing. I can see you in content creation, right? And opening up the horizon for them, say, hey, just because every SDR is supposed to go into sales, don't just be stick to that track, right? Like look at the other things and opening up the horizon for them. So now I'm kind of being that person saying, think about this, just planting the seed, right? And then honing into their skills and pushing them into that. And I think I wouldn't have done that or had the experience to do that if I wasn't done for me. And so just tying that back to my experience and saying, hey, it's possible, just open up yourself and looking at the and sometimes an individual person doesn't realize the skill set they have, right? They think it's just normal to them. But as you hone in and they say, give them the opportunity to present, then they're like, okay, I see what she's saying, Yeah.
That's great. So you're giving them an opportunity to kind of dip their toe in it and test it out and see how it goes and how they like it. You touched on something else that I think is really important as well, and it's that feedback piece. I'll ask a little bit later, but I'd like to pick your brains, this group, around the culture of feedback and how you see that at your organizations, and if it's something that you're finding is getting more focus. But that's for another day, maybe later today. Let's go over to Britt for her thoughts on the career path.
Yeah, I think what both of the speakers have said was really important to note. I think for us, obviously, we do, quarterly and or biannual and annual reviews with your manager or your leader. And, initially going in, I think the question, where do you see yourself, is so flat. Like, what do you mean? I have so many other parts of me that I'm also developing outside of this role. So sure, I can tell you 100 things that I see myself doing in 5 years, right? Leaning into past experiences is really important. Ideally, I mean, I'm more senior in my career, so it was easy to say, we hired you because we really liked A, B, or C on your resume. And how can we lean in on that in this new role? And it used to be frustrating for me to be like, in 5 years, all I want to do is be the best rep ever and no one question my work ethic. That's it. That, like, for 3 years, that was what I would say. And then we started digging a lot deeper. Okay, but what lights you up? I love mentorship. I want to mentor others. I want to be mentored. I want to embrace women in sales. I don't see enough of myself being represented. And that's really important to me. And the more I got into this career, I actually made a huge career shift. I was 7 years in HR, director of people and operations. So it was ironic, or actually serendipitous, that what lights me up is bringing others on my team up. And so what if I don't want to be in a manager role? But Tim really leans on me to mentor the new AEs that are coming in. And that keeps me happy outside of work. And even on days where I'm like, whew, I had too many calls, they're like, okay, well, we can pull this back. And I'm like, but that won't make me happy. what makes me happy is seeing someone grow. And that is from this past life. And the reason I don't want to be a manager is because there's other things that go with being a manager that I was like, never again. I like my sleep. But but it is great that my company leaned in on my skills. Just to what Shweta was saying, is they saw these unique skills that I brought to the team that others maybe don't even know about themselves yet, and can inspire others to do as well. And there's various people on our team. We're very big on career pathing internally at Blueboard. So you can actually go try other careers in the company that are completely different from your own, especially the ones who are younger in their career. To your point, just because you're an SDR does not mean you need to be an AE. What does that look like? What does a week in that role look like for you? Do you enjoy it? Or were there parts of that lit up, a part of your brain that you had a personal passion for and you didn't even know you could bring into the workplace? And then how do we map that out for the next 5 years? Let's get deeper than where do you see yourself, right? So where are you lit up in your personal life? What lights you up as far as your career goal goes? And then how do you see yourself developing those skills to incorporate into this current role? And then how do I support you further?
I love that, because what lights you up, those are really your strengths, right? And that's where your passion is. So if you dig into what makes you passionate and gives you that positive energy, of course you're going to flourish. That's fantastic. Hooray, Blueboard. Okay. Next up, we're going to talk about future-proofing packages, plans, and programs that focus on innovation and well-being. So as I said before, there's lots of change in the world, from the pandemic to all sorts of things that we're all well aware of. We won't talk about today. So with all of that that's happened over the few years, people are really starting to crave that stability. Like, there's a lot of unknowns in this world. They want the known. Do you think that we can future-proof packages, plans, and programs that focus on innovation and well-being? And how might we do something like that? Okay, I'm going to start with Shweta this time.
I mean, pandemic has changed everything around, upside down on every angle, right? So first, we really have to define future proof. Personally, I think the pandemic has opened up my mind and said, okay, there is nothing future proof, but be open to having an experimental mindset, right? So always have a backup plan, even if it's not fully panned out. So when I talk to my HR team every quarterly for, hey, what plans we want to implement, what we want to do with trainings and things like that. One of the things we talk about is, most contracts with companies and vendors are 1 year. Let's try it out, right? Let's see what works for our team and then get the feedback. Like you mentioned, so we have gotten really tightened up with our feedback, even when it comes to, compensation and, after work hours, team building events, anything it is, we have like a survey and a poll put together that we get back, right? Because we're in this phase post-pandemic, if that's a thing. Let's get the feedback and say, did you guys like this? Did you enjoy this? Do you want to see more of this? And one of the things that a lot of people brought up, saying we don't have enough workout sessions during work hours, right? So we just implemented yoga, meditation, right? Just to take 30 minutes away from your workday, and there's like 3 sessions a day that somebody and everybody can join to just shut off everything electronic around you and focus. And we're getting great feedback from that, because everybody's like, wow, this is great. Like, during my workday, when I have no family and anybody around me, I can do this meditation and then come back even more, creative to do things in my rest of the day, right? So we've gotten great things from there.
Nice. You touched on something that set off my spidey senses. So as part of change management, one of the big things that I on my soapbox on quite a bit is involving people early on and co-creating a plan to move forward, because that's where you get the buy-in. So it sounds as though if we're trying to future-proof benefits packages, we need that feedback. We need to know what people want, what's working and what's not. And we need to be fluid in what that package looks like so that it caters to what they're looking for, and then they're invested in it. My 2 cents. Okay, over to Tim.
Yeah, I thought this question was interesting, just given your background, Melissa, in change management. Is like future proof. Like, is there a thing as future proofing? I'm curious your take on this question as well. So hopefully we'll hear some additional thoughts from your perspective. So similar to Shweta, right? I don't know if future proofing is the right word, right? I think it's looking at the foundational elements, right? Like, people are always going to want to feel recognized. People are always going to want to feel valued. People are always going to want an opportunity to grow. So it's just like, how do you foundationally as an organization set these kind of, that aligns with your values as an organization? And then you're going to continue to test there. You're going to continue to learn there. But as long as you're doing something in those buckets, you're moving in the right direction. And maybe it's a bad service, or maybe something needs to change within that. But having those foundational elements, I just think it is super important, and someplace that you can't go wrong if you have that. I think explaining the why behind things is very important for people. I recently learned a lesson at Blueboard. I was making a bunch of changes. I thought I explained the why really well. I didn't, because there were a lot of questions about the why. And I was like, oh, like, I thought I did a good job explaining the why, but I only explained the why up here. I needed to get down there. So making sure that you're communicating things with people and they understand why, and that if they understand why, as things evolve and as things change, then they'll also understand that, because now again, it's like, this is what it was. Now this is what it is. The business conditions have changed. The market's changed. Something else has changed. And now this is why we're doing this. As long as you have that communication around the why, you can get through a lot more. But without it, employees, I just feel like, are often just feeling stuck and feeling like things are being done to them instead of being done with them.
Tim, are you a change manager?
I may need to be. I got a lot of things about myself I need to change. So I think I'll start there.
A vision is so important. That's your guiding light. That's your collective purpose. And that's your why. I love that. Fantastic. Okay, Britt, let's pass it over to you. What are your thoughts on future-proofing a benefits package?
Yeah, I actually get this question a lot. Like, how do we make this like forever, right? And especially with sales teams, HR, everyone's, and I use this term too much, throwing spaghetti at the wall, right? Do they want a wellness package? Do they need rewards and recognition? Do they need extra days off? How do we make sure everyone's happy? And the answer is, there is no one size fits all. I think that is what's innovative post-pandemic, is that the number one thing I hear is my people need a power of choice. They need to tell me what's valuable to them, right? And the only way to do that is to open up that channel of communication and allow them that space to tell you what's meaningful. You know, someone had asked in the chat, how do you incorporate diversity and inclusion into this innovative package? Well, what does that mean to them as an individual, right? It might mean I want to see representation of myself in this workplace. It might mean I feel uncomfortable going to an offsite as a pregnant woman, right? So how do I get included in a virtual way? And so the way we talk about it here at Blueboard is give them that power of choice. When we get rewards here, I am given this menu of options, and this is not to push Blueboard at all. This is just a really great way they support me, of where I can choose what's valuable to me. Last year, I moved to the LA during the pandemic. I'm terrified of the ocean. I used my rewards to take adult swimming lessons, to get scuba certified, to go scuba diving in Cozumel. And my boss didn't know I was scared of the ocean, and why would they, right? But that really meant something to me. You could have offered me all the yoga, no offense, in the middle of the day, but that wasn't going to help me at that time. And so for me, it was really important to conquer that fear that I was suffering from behind closed doors. And we see this with, even here at Blueboard, I say this all the time. People think we all jump out of planes. If you look at our website, like, everyone thinks we're like extreme go-getters. But on the back end of our app, we can see that as people are redeeming their rewards, the number one thing redeemed is relaxation. So our HR team went back to the drawing board and we're like, we're going to give you wellness days during the month or the quarter where you don't have to explain yourself. Just put a wellness day on and you go do what you need to do during that day. It funded us having ClassPass and other things, and they were able to make educated decisions on what the people want, because the people were showing that power of choice. And then we could dedicate more dollars in that direction. So I think future proofing is just really keeping those channels of communication open and allowing them that space to tell you what's meaningful for them. And maybe you diversify your packages in smaller ways so you hit more people and what they value.
Yes. I love the idea of using that data in the back end to feed into your or your benefits package. That's amazing. So you're not really asking for it. It's just there and you can use it to inform it. That's really cool. Okay. Well, those were the 3 topics that we wanted to cover today. We do have some time for a Q&A if people want to start throwing their questions in the chat. There's one in there that I'm seeing that we didn't get to. So I'm going to throw this one out there. And it's around, how do you incorporate a recharge day into a culture that has unlimited days off? Does anybody have thoughts around that? Let's go, Britt.
So we have unlimited days off, and a lot of us do take advantage of it, to Tim's dismay. But for us, it's actually a rule at Blueboard, because we do believe burnout is very real. So if at the end of the year we see that you haven't taken at least 14 days off, we will force you to not come into the office. Around the holiday times, it's easy to kind of force that. But we want you to know that this isn't just us trying to like evade paying you out if you leave. It is because we believe there is power in giving people that space to recharge. And then wellness days are separate from that. So in the back end, you put in when you're taking days off. When you come into the back end, you actually select wellness day from the drop down. So you don't have to tell your boss why. It is just a known thing. I don't need to explain myself. That's what I'm doing. But it is separate from my time off, which is, time with friends and family. We've all gone on a vacation, been like, I need a day off from my vacation now. So that's where my wellness day comes in.
I love that answer. Any other thoughts on that? Shweta, is it the same in your organization or?
No, we don't have, I wish we had unlimited days off. We don't, but we have, similarly, we have a number of days in a year. And if you haven't taken 2 weeks off and coming closer to like September, October, in fact, I just did that with 2 of my sellers. And I'm like, hey guys, I know you've beat your number, you're done, go take a day off, right? They're like, but I don't want to go anywhere. I'm like, understood, but you won't be adding more onto your, what do you call your days off if you don't take any, right? We kind of, because there's a cutoff. So it's a good and bad, but I wish we had unlimited, because then we have wellness days. We just don't call it wellness days. So I think we just have to do a better job as a company to define them better.
Love it. Interesting. I would like PTO unlimited as well, just saying. Okay, we've got one other question in the chat here from Jim. How does transparency come into planning when designing a future-proof compensation pack? Does anybody want to tackle that one?
I think it's a challenging one, right? And I think it's a balance, right? When designing a comp plan and when setting goals and going through that process, anybody that's gone through it knows like the level of data and all of the different metrics and all of the different considerations that go into that, right? That can be like so in the weeds for people, and that not everybody needs to know that, but there needs to be a certain level of transparency of how you got there, why you got there, and where it's going to go, and just make it very visible for people. Like they need to be able to see it. They need to be able to touch it. They need to be able to know it, and being clear about it. But I think that, again, going back to the why, like this is why it's structured like this, and this is what it means to the business, and this is what it means to you. And I think with that level of detail and people understanding where the numbers come from and why they're there, I think it goes a long way. Brett and I just had this conversation, so she'd be curious to hear from her.
I would definitely say transparency, one, has to come from the top down. It's great if Tim is transparent with me, but if I feel like the rest of the business has, alternative motives for my career pathing or whatever it might be, then I will lose trust in the organization, right? and we all know people leave companies for bad managers, not because of the company. But if you have a great manager and you still feel like you're a little lost in the weeds, it really does have to come from the top down. So during our weekly all hands, our CEO and COO are very, very transparent. They will tell us, this is where we got stuck. We had this, bad thing happen in this department. This is where we're going to try to remedy it. Or this is where we see ourselves in a year. And this is how it might impact some of these teams. Be aware your managers might be coming to you with these changes. Please feel free to come to us if you feel strongly about it or you want to discuss further. So having transparency really bleed through all departments and from top down is where you get true cultural buy-in from everyone. That I definitely in your life, you're going to say like, I wish I got paid more. But when you understand why it's set that way and that there's a growth plan for the whole organization and you're not just someone in a silo who's not getting paid industry standards, then you're more likely to buy into that mission and those values.
Yes, transparency is so key, right? It takes the unknown out of it. And when there's unknowns, that's scary. And that's when you're right. People lose trust and they question things and maybe they don't feel safe asking. So yeah, I love this discussion. It's like, I love it. Okay, so maybe we have time for one more question, Eduardo. We're going to take one more, and this one's from Kate. How do you approach employees in different divisions that can't take advantage of extra time away from work? So, for example, somebody in emergency services. I don't know if you folks would be, is that something that you'd have some input on?
I think maybe just one thing I would add to that, and may not be the right thing, but last organization I was at was a coaching software platform, and a lot of the things that they had talked about, and the coaches were PhDs in performance psychology and work with Olympic athletes, work with first responders, military, all those types of populations, right? And I sat in enough sessions, and not to say that I practice at all because I don't, but they often talk a lot about like, it's not just about the day off. It's not just about the week off and the vacation. Like, how are you doing that daily? How do you take 15 seconds for yourself in between calls, take a few breaths, or do a couple rounds of push-ups, or whatever it is that you need to do during that time? Whatever that is, but you can't just wait to recharge until you have the time. You got to build it into your day-to-day, right? You got to look at your calendar and it's like, all right, this is what it is. I have a 10-minute window here. Like, I know what I need to do to get in the right headspace. I'm going to go outside for 10 minutes and walk around the block, or I'm going to sit there for 5 minutes and just stare at the wall and take some breaths. Like, what is that? Like, we need those mini like recharge abilities instead of just waiting for the big. Because if we're only waiting for the big, they're too far. They're not close enough together, and there's not enough for the day-to-day.
And you know what you've just touched on? You have brought us full circle, Tim. So here you are talking about people being flexible, creative, and owning their day. Love it. That was perfect. Okay. So I think Eduardo is going to come back on and join us. Folks, this has been fantastic. I've really enjoyed it.
All right, that I agree with you, Melissa. That was really great. A lot of good inputs from all of you. We have a poll open right now for the audience. So if you want to hear more from the Blueboard team, please go ahead and hit the yes over there. And we also have a request a demo from our sponsor button. It should be somewhere in the top, I think top right, I believe. But that was great. We are going to wrap things up here. But first, I want to thank everyone for attending. We loved having you here. We loved the questions and we loved the engagement in the chat. And thank you for our wonderful sponsor, Blueboard. It looks like they're doing amazing stuff. I know that they are doing amazing stuff. If you look at their website, it's crazy. Britt, you're right. I think you guys just go to the office and then you jump on a plane, and then 10 minutes later, you're just like, I don't know, in a river, on a boat, something like this. It's pretty cool. So go check them out. They're doing amazing things. I also want to say thank you to Melissa, Shweta, Tim, and Britt for providing this great content. And again, the recording will be available in the MSP website pretty soon. So you will be able to get all the knowledge and learn more from the Blueboard team, Melissa and Shweta. And while the panelists and I hang out backstage, the MSP team will make sure to send you a follow-up email with all the information that you need. And don't forget to sign up for our upcoming summit on October 11th to the 13th. So panelists, let's go backstage. You can say bye to our amazing audience and we can go backstage. Bye-bye.